Today we're going to be making a brand new skirting table to be used for skirting my raw fleeces. This is the current one that I've been using for years, and you can see it's just two wooden sawhorses with a piece of plywood laying on top. I want to upgrade to using a hardware cloth so that the debris from the wool can fall through the holes. My goal today is we're going to be making this without purchasing any supplies and using materials that I already have on my farm. So I did find some hardware cloth, a remnant piece on my property, so I'll be using this. The larger the squares of the hardware cloth, the more the debris can fall through. The smaller the square, the less it's going to fall through. Now, I'm not going to be picky. I'm going to use this because I already have it. Also, I have some repurposed lumber here. So I have some 2x4s here that I got from somebody when they had a garage sale. Unfortunately, it does have some holes drilled through it, but that's okay. I'm not making any furniture here. This doesn't need to look beautiful by any means. We want function. So we'll be using repurposed lumber, some remnant hardware cloth, and we're going to get going on making a skirting table today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 7-foot 2x4 and I'm going to be trimming off 3/4 of an inch on the table saw. So I already have this set up to remove 3/4 of an inch. And I'll be laying it on the saw in this direction, like so. So let's go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and turn it on. If you are using a table saw, be sure to use safety precautions. Do as I say and not as I do. Use eye protection, use ear protection, a blade cover, wear gloves, and tie your hair back. I will have a materials list and items used in the video description. So that's what that looks like. So I just finished cutting this 7-foot 2x4 over on the table saw, and now I've clamped it with a C-clamp onto this. I'm using my skirting table right now as my working station. I need to cut it down to 48 inches, so I've marked it with a pencil here, and I'm going to be using this circular saw to trim this off. So go ahead and take your circular saw and line up near your pencil mark. Okay, so that looks good. It's trimmed off to the right size. We're ready for the next step. So I just finished cutting the 48-inch pieces of lumber, and we need to make the ends, so we're going to cut down the remaining lumber to 21 inches. Again, using the circular saw. I've already marked 21 inches with a pencil, so go ahead and cut that again. Okay. Let's review the materials that we just cut down. We had those shaved down 2x4s, and we made two 48-inch lengths, two 21-inch lengths, and with those 3/4 strips, we made two 45-inch and two 24-inch. So next thing we're going to do now is we're going to assemble this into the frame. So let's get started. So I pre-drilled these holes because I was concerned about the wood splitting because it's old and dry. Now we're going to be screwing in a screw to attach it to the end piece right here. So the frame has now been assembled with the 2x4s, and we use 3-inch screws to attach them, 2 per end. You need to make sure that the screws are long enough that they can go through this board and obviously into the next board. Now we're laying out the hardware cloth on top of the frame. It's really handy to use the C-clamp to hold it still. Now we don't want to position the hardware cloth flush with the board. We want to go in just a little ways, as you can see here. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut the hardware cloth on this end so that it's in a ways from this board. And I'm going to go all the way down the length so that it fits appropriately. Using a side cutters, we'll be snipping this hardware cloth in a straight line. So this is where I want it to be cut so that it's in a ways into the lumber and not flush with the lumber. So holding it vertically, I'm going to go ahead and snip each wire, kind of give it a little twist and it'll cut off. You can see that it's getting cut there. So we need to do this along the entire length of the frame. And because these are smaller squares, it is going to take a while to cut all these. So I will meet you back once I've got this length cut down. Now we have the hardwire cloth cut down to the appropriate size. Just going to zoom in close so you can see that. So we're in a little ways from the edge. We did use some old shingle nails because I have a nice large head and just to hold it down a little bit. So you can see what that looks like. So next we're ready to place those smaller strips on top of this. We have secured the smaller strips on the top of the hardware cloth. In this case we used 2.5-inch screws because that's what we had. And we went along each board, installing a screw to secure it down. This way there's no sharp edge exposed of the hardware cloth, so I won't cut myself while I'm leaning against it. After 7 easy steps, the skirting table is now complete. If you would like to learn how to skirt a fleece, watch my video. Thanks for watching and happy skirting!